Today, I want to take a closer look at two semiconductor companies that are extremely popular in the current AI era. One for being the king of the AI space, Nvidia, and the second one for being kind of the ultimate lagger in this market, and that is going to be Intel Corporation. So in today's episode, I want to take a closer look at both these companies. What are some recent news? Let me just say, for Nvidia, I feel like I haven't done an Nvidia episode in quite a while, and this is going to be a very, very bullish one. So let's take a closer look in today's episode.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so let's start off with Nvidia. We can see after hours, the stock is sitting at $183. Today was a record close for them, and the company is inching to $4.5 trillion of market cap, which is insane. Year to date, the stock is up about 32%. In the past year, the stock is up over 74%. Now, in this channel, we've talked about Nvidia for more than over a year, maybe 2 to 3 years since this whole AI era and before then. So this is going to be the best place you're going to find any Nvidia news. Now, I want to start off this topic with we've had a lot of earnings already. We've had earnings from big tech players, which are the big customers of Nvidia. We've had earnings from a major competitor of Nvidia, AMD. So we already have kind of update of the landscape. And Nvidia's earnings are later this month, but I want to kind of just take a closer look at what we know right now. Why I actually believe this is going to be a crazy quarter for Nvidia. So based on prior earnings and some other kind of events that we've seen in the last 3 months, we've actually gotten some updates about Blackwell. For those that are not familiar, Blackwell is the current architecture that Nvidia is using to sell its AI chips. You have the B200, you're also actually having the Blackwell Ultra, the B300, following with the GB200 and the GB300 platforms that are shipping or kind of ramping up. In the last earnings, Nvidia mentioned that this is the fastest product ramp in history. That in forms of data center revenue, Blackwell already made up 70% of data center compute revenue, which is insane. And it's kind of showcasing that the Hopper platform, which was the previous generation, is nearly complete and kind of almost over with. Now, this explosive growth, the rapid adoption of Blackwell, is the primary driver behind the staggering growth in Nvidia's data center revenue. They reported roughly $39.1 billion in the last quarter, and that was a 73% year-over-year growth on that data center market. Now, some interesting marks and products that we got from that earnings call is hyperscale deployments. They mentioned that the world's largest cloud providers are deploying Blackwell at a breathtaking pace, building the foundation for the next generation of AI. They mentioned then that 1,000 NVL72 racks were being deployed weekly. If you do a quick math, that means 72,000 Blackwell GPUs were deployed weekly. And Microsoft, one of their biggest customers, was expected to have 100,000 GB200s at scales. Those are a lot. So times that by 72, right? So the other thing that the company mentioned, and I think this is what gets me the most excited, talking about forward momentum. The ramp is set to accelerate, and companies are on track to further increase output in Q2, signaling that the Blackwell era is just beginning. The future AI is being built right now. Now, a great way of AI is this. This is a pretty cool website, and I actually generated with AI in less than 5 seconds. And this is the power of AI. If I can use it, imagine all these companies using it in real world uses. For example, I use AI to collect a lot of information. I use AI to ask a lot of questions, and then I use AI to kind of generate pages like this. Now, the other thing that we did see as well is GPT-5 recently came out from OpenAI, and it's just continuing to showcase the momentum in the AI story. We also know that, by the end of this year, we expect probably Gemini 3, we expect Grok 5, we're in Grok 4, right? So Grok 5, the next generation of Grok, and all these AI stories continue, or AI models continue to innovate and continue to go to the next era, which a lot are mentioning are going to be way better than obviously the previous generation. So that kind of showcases kind of this AI market is still in full swing. Now, let me tell you why I'm excited, especially that last line, forward momentum. The ramp is set to accelerate for Blackwell, further increase output in Q2. Now, let's jump into my favorite data platform for investors. If you are serious about investing, this is the platform for you. Make sure to check out my code fiscal.ai/Jose for 15% off any of their plans. I use this platform on a daily basis. It's not just because I'm a partner, I use them prior to being a partner. Now, there are a few things I want to show here. So this is capital expenditure from a lot of the big players. So we have capital expenditure. The blue is Microsoft, the orange is Google, the purple is Amazon, the green is Meta, and they even have some of the other kind of big companies like Oracle and CoreWeave as well. There's a lot of companies now that are investing dramatically in data center. Now, right now, I'm just looking at Q4 and Q1 of this past year, right? So, Q1 of this year and Q4 of last year. The first thing you notice is there was not much capital expenditure growth in that quarter, in those 2 quarters, right? And you might be wondering, Jose, see, this kind of showcase that the AI era was done. But if you were following this channel, we knew that the Blackwell architecture had a little bit of issues with the ramp up process due to some mistakes, and companies were pushing orders out a little bit. Now it seems like those issues are done. And if we kind of look at Q2, and this is not even looking at certain companies already, we can see this massive jump of capital expenditure by the big players from 79 billion last quarter to now jumping to 97. This is the biggest jump ever. Now, I am curious. I mean, the 3 major players providing some form of semiconductor solutions right now are your Nvidia, your AMD, your Broadcom, and your Marvell. And if we look at just one of those companies right now, let's just kind of, and this is the great thing about these charts, right? So right now, this is Nvidia. Nvidia right here is showcasing that even Q4 and Q1, remember Q4 and Q1 were quarters that we didn't see capital expenditure growth. Yet the company still saw sequential growth in data center. I believe, and this is my overall thoughts right now, we saw that massive growth in capital expenditure between Q1 and Q2. The main reason, I believe, is this: the forward momentum of the strong acceleration of Blackwell in Q2. So I think, based on what I'm seeing in the market right now, Q2 in forms of data center is going to be a crazy quarter for Nvidia. Now, unfortunately, because of the China market, there are some headwinds there impacting revenue, right? I think it was about an $8 billion loss this quarter with that revenue. Some of it picked back, is expected to come back online. We just don't know when it'll come back online, but that is going to create some form of pressure in the data center space. I still believe this market will do a lot better than what analysts are expecting. Now, the reason I say that is we already had one company report earnings, and this is AMD. AMD, in forms of data center revenue, didn't really grow much. I mean, they didn't really have much of a competitive product in Q2. So some might be saying, okay, so AMD didn't have a competitive product. Why did capital expenditure grow so much, right? Why did capital expenditure grow so much if you don't have the competitive product from AMD? Now, some might say that yes, this could actually be seen as a bullish case for Broadcom, which maybe it could. It could also be seen as a bullish case for Marvell as well. But we can see still in forms of revenue, these companies, this is semiconductor solutions revenue from Broadcom. Not all of it is AI chips, and not all of it is data center. But we can see they are not the market share leader like Nvidia. So again, I'm just going to finish off with this point here for Nvidia is there was a $20 billion of CapEx grown in the last 3 months. Where is that money going? The companies have mentioned that they're still data center compute constrained. Who are they buying those GPUs from? I believe that is going to be Nvidia. I don't believe that 20 billion is going to go to Nvidia, so I don't expect Nvidia to kind of see that huge revenue growth of $20 billion. But I do believe we are going to see some nice growth rates, especially as we continue to see more sovereign AI, more neo clouds report earnings. And as we get even further, we saw companies like Nebius. I expect CoreWeave to announce maybe massive capital expenditure as well. So I'm super excited for Nvidia's earnings. Now, like I mentioned, the Chinese market is a bit of a headwind for Nvidia right now. The company, though, recently, when was this? This was on July 14th. Their quarter ended July 30th. And in July 14th, CEO provided an update to customers in China, noting that Nvidia is filing applications to sell the Nvidia H20 GPU again. The US government has assured Nvidia that the licenses will be granted, and Nvidia hopes to start delivery soon. Finally, Huang announced a new fully compliant NVIDIA RTX Pro GPU that is ideal for digital twin AI for smart factories and logistics. So, the question is, how soon is NVIDIA getting those licenses signed? We did have AMD report earnings about a week ago. And AMD mentioned that they still haven't really given us much of an approval rate on licenses, but if I may be honest, AMD is a small player compared to Nvidia right now. And the current administration, I say, rather play with the big dogs first. And I think it wants to work really well with Nvidia. Nvidia announced kind of that partnership of $500 billion AI investments with its partners here in the United States. And I think for that reason, maybe, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but Nvidia will get a preference, in my opinion, for things like that, or we be put on top of the list. Maybe actually it's not wrong. Maybe that's a whole different debate. But because of that, one thing that I'm actually curious about this earnings is it would be wild if Nvidia says, look, yeah, we actually got all these license approvals already. We actually started shipping some of the chips we had ready to go before the quarter ended, and we're actually recognizing some revenue from China right now. And the reason that would be crazy because we didn't get that same type of notice from AMD. So I do believe if we start to hear something like that, you would see that the current administration favors one company over the other, and that could create maybe a bullish sentiment for Nvidia and potentially a bearish sentiment for AMD. So just my thoughts there, but something I am going to be watching during this earnings. But regardless, let's just look at it one more time. That CapEx growth in quarter two was insane compared to quarter one. You take that with what it is. Now, let's kind of look at Intel. But if you made it so far through this channel, please make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 75,000 subs by the end of the year. I also have a free semiconductor newsletter, whatthechiphappened.com. I know, amazing name. I came up with it myself. I don't think I used AI for that name. I don't think I did. But regardless, it was all me. Check the links down below and kind of the special offers I have as well. Now, we're going to talk here about Intel. Intel, unfortunately, has been going through a lot. Year to date, the stock is pretty much flat. In the past year, the stock is also pretty much flat. So it's been a quiet, but we can see these massive growth and dips for this company. The most recent issue was on August 7th. Donald Trump posted the following on his Truth Social. The CEO of Intel is highly conflicted and must resign immediately. There is no other solution to this problem. Thank you for your attention to this problem. So we see this problem twice. First, it's pretty interesting and wild to hear a president kind of trying to sway a public company, right? So that's within itself maybe questionable acts, and definitely something to be looked at because a public company like Intel should have no influence by any form of administration. Now, what is happening here? What conflict is Donald Trump talking about? Now, for those that are not familiar, the current CEO of Intel is Lip-Bu Tan. He has been CEO for about maybe 2 quarters at most. He used to be the prior CEO of Cadence. And Cadence, he was the CEO for, I think, almost 20 years or close to it. And very, very respectable he is a respectable figure in the semiconductor industry. Unfortunately, I had to pull up to Perplexity and see, hey, Perplexity, what's going on here with Lip-Bu Tan? And Perplexity gave me the following. So there are a few issues with Lip-Bu Tan. First is a Reuters investigation revealed that Lip-Bu Tan invested at least $200 million in Chinese companies between March 2012 and December of 2024, either directly or through his venture capital firm. And these investments include certain companies tied, we don't know exactly how well, but tied with the Chinese People's Liberation Army, over 600 Chinese firms across various technology sectors, investments in other companies as well. Now, another one is Lip-Bu Tan is an early investor and a board member for Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corp, which is China's largest chip maker from 2001 until 2018. So he's no longer there, but for a while he was there. And then the other thing is Cadence. As a company, perhaps the most concerning is as CEO of Cadence Design System from 20 2008 to 2021, during which the company violated U.S. export controls by selling chip design tools to Chinese military entities. In July of 2025, Cadence agreed to plead guilty and pay over $140 million to resolve charges for illegally providing technology to China's National University of Defense Technology, which conducts nuclear explosion simulations. The violations did occur between 2015 and 2021 under Tan's leadership, with Cadence employees deliberately concealing reference to the People Liberation Army and referring to NUDT only in Chinese characters to avoid detection. So first, I don't know how it, all right, Cadence said they were guilty for sure. The real question is, was Tan involved, right? It seems like this is something that I don't believe he would be, but obviously I usually tend to be more of a optimistic than a pessimistic. I tend to trust maybe a little bit more than than maybe most people should. But regardless, I would say something like this is probably certain employees with certain ties that they get bought off, try to handle this, and they thought they weren't going to get caught, but they did get caught. Now, Intel did kind of announce the following, but actually, I believe there's a little bit more going on. So one of the biggest things here, and maybe I would love to hear your thoughts here, is the current administration loves investments in the United States, and Intel is the biggest manufacturer. It's expected to be the kind of key manufacturer of semiconductors, being a US-based company, right? You don't, and typically you wouldn't want TSMC. I'm not saying that's what I think, but typically you want the biggest manufacturer of semiconductors in the United States to be a US company, not to be TSMC. But recently, in the most recent earnings, Li Putan mentioned that the company intends to consolidate its assembly and kind of slow down certain manufacturing push. They mentioned that they will further slow the pace of construction in Ohio to ensure spending is aligned with market demand. So they're going to slow down investments. And I feel like the current administration looks at that and says, we don't like that. We want you to accelerate, even if you're going to go broke doing it. We want you to accelerate your spending. And I think this might be something that's creating some pressure and some tensions between the current administration and Intel. I wouldn't want to be an Intel shareholder right now, as I do believe this fight could get a little petty and could kind of create some volatility on the stock. Now, the message from Intel CEO, they kind of sent to employees, and he first started off by, I know there's been a lot of news, a lot in the news today, and I want to take a moment to address it directly with you. Let me start by saying this. The United States has been my home for more than 40 years. I love this country and am profoundly grateful for the opportunity it has given me. I also love this company. Leading Intel at this critical moment is not just a job, it's a privilege. The industry has given me so much more. Our company has played such a pivotal role, and it's an honor of my career to work with you to restore Intel's strength and create the innovation of the future. Intel's success is essential to U.S. technology and manufacturing leadership, national security, and economic strength. This is what fuels our business around the world. It's what motivates me to join this team, and it's what drives me every day to advance the important work that we're done. And he kind of has, he mentions there's been a lot of misinformation circulating about my past roles at Walden International, which is kind of that firm, and Cadence Design Systems. I want to be absolutely clear. Over the 40 plus years in the industry, I built relationships around the world and across our diverse ecosystem, and I have always operated within the highest legal and ethical standards. My reputation has been built on trust, on doing what I say I'll do and doing it the right way. This is the same way I am leading Intel. We are engaging with the administration to address the matters that have been raised and ensure they have the facts. I fully share the president's commitment to advancing U.S. national and economic security. I appreciate his leadership to advance these priorities, and I am proud to lead a company that is so central to these goals. The board is fully supportive of the work we are doing to transform our company, innovate for our customers, and execute with discipline. So again, I mean, I think a gentleman at his age who has been successful at Cadence is actually coming here as a challenge. I do believe he wants to turn Intel around. I don't believe there's any confliction here, but again, I do believe that slowdown in Ohio plant is something that might be making the current administration angry. I wouldn't be surprised if the only way we kind of start to see some pressure off from the current administration is by Intel saying, look, we're actually pushing our acceleration into the Ohio facility, and we're no longer slowing pace. Now, actually, this could, I'm thinking as I'm doing this video, but this could actually turn around good for Intel. Intel CEO and the Intel board or whatever could go to the current administration. Look, we're trying to build manufacturing here in the United States, but we're not getting any customers. You tend to have great friends here in the administration with other tech leaders. Why don't you make them come and become some of our, not make them, but make them with your strength, make them become some of our customers, so like that we can accelerate these manufacturing lines. And if they're so wanting to build US and chips, this is the company that they should be doing. But I haven't gotten an order from company A, from company B, from company C or B or whatever. If they get into us, if they report customer orders, we will be able to accelerate our facilities and invest more in the United States. So I think it could actually be, if the current push is this focus on bringing more investment to the United States, I think Intel could play the reverse Uno card. So now that I'm thinking about it, I know originally I said that maybe I wouldn't want to be an Intel shareholder. I still don't want to be an Intel shareholder, but there might be some things around there, right? There could be a reverse Uno that Intel could play here. So interesting there. Now, what would I do with this information? I mean, as an Nvidia investor, I continue to hold my shares. If we go back, womp, 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 look at that capital expenditure growth. I think that's insane. No reason to sell my Nvidia shares. Obviously, it's not going to go up in a straight line, but I am bullish in the long term, and I do believe this is going to continue, especially as all these mega cap companies have announced capex growth for the next few months, and even mentioned accelerated growth in 2026 as well. So as an Nvidia shareholder, I am definitely not selling any shares. Now, as an Intel shareholder, I think I don't know what to do with this, right? I'm not an Intel shareholder, but if I was, I would understand that there's going to be a lot of volatility, especially now that the current administration has their eyes on you, especially not in the most positive way. Now, I did that random thinking throughout the video about kind of how Intel could play the reverse Uno card, and that could be seen as a bullish sentiment, but it's only a fictional theory or thesis that happened in my head. It doesn't mean it's going to happen that way. But if it does, that's pretty cool, because we saw that live thinking, that AI inference happening live on this episode, and it didn't take that long to think about it. But yeah, so Intel shareholder, expect volatility. If the AI story, if the manufacturing story, my apologies, if the manufacturing story for Intel happens how they want it to happen, a market cap of $87 billion is extremely cheap. A manufacturing company in the United States producing this could be easily hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, if not $1 trillion. I mean, we see TSMC. Will that happen? That's the risk. That's the risk you do investing in Intel, is investing in, are things going to turn around? And the turnaround story takes a lot longer than expected. So I'm not investing in Intel anytime soon, but definitely going to keep a closer eye on this. So take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.